Hey guys, welcome back to Casually K9. Today I am your main host. I'm Kate.
And I am Casey.
He's letting me sit in the driver's seat today. We actually even completely flipped spots. We were about to start and Casey's like, all right, I have a topic for today, a couple of questions. And I'm like, can I actually host today? And I'm shocked you gave up that role. How does this make you feel?
No, I'm good with it. No, it's nice to change it up a little bit.
Okay. So we usually start with a little bit of like a lifer update, what's going on with us. Honestly, there's not a ton to like bring you guys up to speed on based on our last podcast. We did have our shadow program. Those are, I'm probably going to explain them almost the same every time because such cool people come to shadow us most of the time, of course. And so they're so awesome, but so exhausting. So there's a reason I was telling the 3 girls that were here, we were supposed to have 5. 2 unfortunately weren't able to come in person because of sickness, which is never fun. So they had to bow out. But the other 3 girls were... I was telling them, I'm like, I love having you guys here and it's so enjoyable for me, but I'm like, I'm exhausted. So like, I don't make plans the day after. This one was a Wednesday through Friday, which we typically do a Tuesday through Thursday.
We usually don't make plans the whole weekend after.
I know. So
because
like,
we're catching up on regular life
and sleep
things.
And stuff like that. But yeah, it was awesome. Really enjoyed having the girls come and join. It's really cool too. And I think that we kind of touched on it, but it's 3 trainers from KANE9 Summit out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. And their owner of the company, Sierra, who's amazing, was here not long ago. And she really wanted her team to come learn from me and Casey and stuff like that. So that's obviously such a huge compliment that she literally wants her entire team to come learn from us. So they were awesome. Yeah. The thing that was not awesome about this week was Wednesday and Thursday, 98 degrees. And I'm not talking about the boy band. It was
Nick Lachey was not here.
No. And actually, I'm very happy he wasn't.
The heat and humidity was brutal.
Stupid. And it's one of those things where it's like, even the girls, they were like, one of the days they were like, this is kind of normal. And then it hit like midday. They're like, okay, this is bad. So we know of people from down south.
Y'all down south.
Yeah, we were talking about their accents and our Wisconsin accents and stuff. They're like, yeah, this is brutal. One of our drop-offs, I remember feeling like when we went back inside to our building, which is obviously temperature controlled, like the drop-off was maybe 8 minutes. And I was like, I thought I was going to pass out. Like,
I was dripping.
I was
sweat.
felt like I was blacking out. And part of me was like, I'm so glad Casey films this because I don't really remember what we talked about. Like, I was like totally blacking out.
It's just kind of secondhand nature.
Oh my gosh, this dog.
Second nature.
What do you mean?
Is that a thing?
What's secondhand nature? It's just
second
what
nature.
What are you even talking about though?
About doing the drop offs. Like we do them, like there's such a flow to them. And then we'll get in sometimes like, okay, let's rewatch the footage just to make sure we completely get, we'll revisit the application and stuff.
Yeah, because sometimes it's like, oh yeah, okay. A lot of the same things too with a lot of the dogs. Like it's always
dog reactivity.
Yeah, pulling on leash.
Yep.
When they see people, they're too excited.
Aroused.
Like there's so much. I was talking about this in a video or something that either we posted in our subscription page or even maybe it was just a story, but we never have owners reach out to us saying like, hey, we really need your help getting our dog to be more hyper. So it's so consistent for us to literally be like, can you imagine if someone showed up? I'd be like, this is going to be kind of fun. Like,
there's certainly some times where we have to motivate differently with dogs, but no,
I would be like,
never.
I would be like, can you please clarify? Because hyper to me versus hyper to someone else could mean totally different things. And I'm guessing if they said hyper, they probably don't actually mean hyper. They probably mean more like motivated.
Yeah, they're
and
just a
eager.
sloth around the house. We just need to get them moving.
That would be a first. And I would be like, we need to document this entire dog. But anyways, it was a good week. Every week has its little bit of like ups and downs. This one was more of just like, it felt like a quirky week. And I feel like that's a decent word to put on it.
We kind of have a quirky crew right now.
Yeah, I posted that one Casey obviously got me a drop-off video, and I called it's just like a quirky crew. We called them our little misfits, and that is coming from a place of love because we also own misfits. Like, we definitely do not expect cookie cutter dogs to just show up and be like, all right, this is just, we get from point A to point B. But it is kind of rare to have everyone in the crew feel a little quirky. But yeah, they're going to keep us on our toes. They're fun. They're sweet. Everyone is settling in nicely. Some taking a little bit longer than others, which not abnormal. But anyways, anything from a life perspective that you want to pour into us, Casey?
No, I was just thinking right before the podcast started that it's the end of August already. I can't believe. I was thinking back to
Dad. What a dad. Gosh, can you believe it's already almost September?
Well, we had some dogs boarding with us this weekend, and I was trying to remember, like, well, when did they train with us? Like, has it been that long? Since we had those guys with us, and some of them it hasn't, but it seems like longer. I don't know. It's just, we've been fortunate enough to take more breaks this year and like change it up with travel in between. So sometimes it all blends together, but yeah.
Do you have any weekly updates?
No, that was it. It just follows around the corner.
All right. So the reason I'm kind of teeing you up with some questions is because usually you're in my role right now, or so, like, vice versa. Right. So you're usually here just to keep the flow going versus doing a lot of the talking. So I just did a little practice question and you failed.
And it didn't go well.
You failed. So I hope that was enough of a warm up for you.
Yeah, I'm ready to roll. Let's go.
You're totally ready. Okay. So I did not give him a heads up at all on what I wanted to talk about. And we have touched on this kind of topic. Hey, birdie, can we not eat our entire foot? Thank you so much.
Bird.
She's chewing on her paw because she's bored. But so we've touched on this topic briefly, and it was kind of when we were talking about like the transition of Casey being home with me and stuff like that, and us working together. But I want you to rewind, go back in time, and think of yourself as when I first told you that we were getting a dog and that, I got Rhodey, and obviously he was living with me more full time than with you because we were still living in different cities. And when I really started diving into like our training journey, there was obviously times where it was like I would have to almost beg you to be on board with certain things. You've always been a super supportive partner and stuff like that, but you didn't like live what I was living with Rhodey. Mm-hmm. So this is something that we have clients ask us all of the time, is we kind of touched on last week or the week before, how to get people that are like outside of your immediate family or people that are guests that come over to like at least have a space of understanding and support. But having to have your partner or your family members on board that live in your home is a whole different animal. Like, that is more challenging because it's more important, because it's not a here and there that they're coming over. So first, I'd like to get your perspective a little bit of when you started seeing like how quickly like I jumped into the deep end, and I'm like, we're gonna like do everything all at once, which I'm sure some people feel like when, say there's one family member that's like really excited about the board and train, and others like, yeah, like that sounds great. And they come home and one is so like, we got to do everything Kait said. We need to follow this. And the other one's like, yeah, like I'll do the best that I can. Not that that was you, but can you give a little perspective of like what that process was like for you, of like me basically telling you like, I need you to do XYZ with our dog, and the moments that didn't come as easy to you of like, kind of like, I'm just not going to do it the way Kait does it, or I'm going to find my own way, or like, no, I'm not going to follow through with this. What was that like from your perspective of having someone that is me, that is very like, you tell me what to do to accomplish something and I'm going to work my rear off to get there, versus you that's a little bit more of like, I'm going through each moment. Like, I'm going to take it like moment by moment and work through this. So long-winded, like, what would you tell people that their partner is really asking them to please, 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 please be on board with the training from your perspective. And then I'll give mine as like a trainer brain perspective. But I want you to come from owner perspective here, not now Casey, who works with me all day, that knows how important the consistency is. Do you just love how long it takes me to ask a question?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to remember what the question was.
So basically, it's not even a question. I guess it's more of a topic of what would you recommend to someone's partner that maybe is not as gung-ho about the training process or has a harder time like being really intentional about the things that you don't want to cut out, like couch time or, you know, making sure that the dog isn't pulling on the leash, those kinds of things where it's like, it seems like, do I really need to do this? What would you tell that partner now that you've come full circle and you're totally on the other side?
Which partner? The one who's on board or
the one that's not? The one that's just
what would
like,
I tell the one who hasn't bought in, so to say?
Yeah, like, because that used to be you. Not that you didn't buy in, but you were like, let me cut the edges as much as I possibly could.
That's tough because I feel like my personality is very much like I think back to like our relationship as a whole. Like if you were dedicated towards something and like you were really dedicated towards working with Rhodey in the beginning, and I had no idea what ownership of a dog looked like. I had no idea what ownership of Rhodey looked like. I just trusted like there was a process to working with these things. Like there was help out there for us. What that looked like at the time, I have no idea. I don't remember quite what that was like, but I remember times when I would take, like, this is way back when Brody was a young dog, maybe 1 or 2 years old. And we were just living in an apartment. It was just Rhodey at the time. There were times where I would just go take him on a walk, and, you know, obviously we weren't using the same tools at the time, or we didn't know how to use them in the way that we do now or something like that. And there were, I struggled with him. He would react. I don't even remember because it feels like it was so long ago. Mm-hmm. But I myself knew that there were options out there. There was possibilities, and you being Kait, obviously you took a natural liking to training. So you basically, while we were working with different trainers at the time, you took a liking to, I want to figure out this dog. I want to be the one who's training him. And I think it just kind of came from there. But I don't know if there's like any sort of like particular advice or like, hey, this is what you should do for this. But I would just say, just know that there's help out there. Like there are people that, you know, aren't going to have like big egos and like talk to you down and, you know, make you feel bad about your dog or anything like that. Or
okay, so like I guess so I can preface to get more of what I'm looking for here, because great answer for my long-winded explanation of what I want you to talk about. But from my perspective, sometimes I felt like I would come on like, Casey, like, can you please go out and work with Rhodey? Like, go take him for a walk, go take him out on his long line, go practice recall, go do these things, where it would be kind of like, I don't want to right now. So maybe from a better perspective is, what would you tell the person that's more like me how to approach getting you or their partner on board in a way that's not just like, I'm telling you need to do this, so go do this. Because we experience that. And even if it's not from your personal, but like even from a guy's perspective, I think that might be helpful too, because a lot of our clients that say they are a male-female relationship, often it's our lady friends that are so on board and so invested, and some of our buddies, our guys, are like not as much. So what would you tell maybe those Kates of the situation how to approach their partner to get them on board, and not a way that's just like, I'm telling you need to do this, because that's obviously going to cause pushback, and like that makes me want to do it even less.
Yeah, for sure. No, that mindset of like, hey, can you go work with him? Can you go do this? Like I mean, especially at the time too, like I didn't have the same goals in mind I can think back to like Rhodey and my first starting out a relationship with him. But yeah, I'm definitely not the person who's like, you need to go do this or you should go do this. But I guess a different way maybe to approach someone would be maybe starting off by having a conversation about like what that person's goals would be with their dog too at first, because if they're not on the same page, then you're gonna have conflict, I feel like, a lot. And I know that in the beginning, like I didn't know what a relationship with a dog looked like, so there was probably conflict with us. But I don't think it needs to be like a conflicting thing. Like if there's one person who is really dedicated to the relationship with that dog and wants to work on those things and another person doesn't, I think that should be talked about in a way that's like, okay, so but like if let's say like you were working really hard on stuff with Rhodey and you were the really dedicated owner, like I think that, you know, there's also a way to ask me or the person who isn't like, you know, so involved. That's what it's like.
Or even just so eager about the training process.
Yeah, to just support you in a way that's like, you don't have to be directly involved all the time, but like supporting decisions revolving that dog, including like if you did want to send them to a board trainer, you did want to go try different things, like having their support in order to do that. I think that's important to just talk about at first. That way it's not like assumed like, hey, we realize now we have a challenging dog and now
this is what we're doing.
This is what we have to do. But that person isn't on board about doing that. I mean, I just don't think that's going to go well.
Or even like one thing that you said, because like it's never been that you haven't been on, like you wanted his help with the reactivity too. So it wasn't that like you were never on board. Most often, I don't think it's that say your partner, you're listening to this and you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, like I'm the one that does everything. What it sounds like you're kind of saying is like, it would be helpful, which we have had these conversations, especially in the past, of like, what do you want your relationship to look like with Rhodey? Or what do you want your relationship to look like with that dog?
Because if you guys don't have the same goals in mind or picture the same relationship, then you need to talk about, in my opinion, you need to talk about like how that's going to look differently and how you're going to support each other to have that relationship be a little different.
Because it can be different.
But also like if you are the less supporting person or not as involved, don't be surprised when you have not as great a relationship with that dog too, because you don't spend the time or work with them in the capacity that the more involved person does. So that was one thing I noticed was Rhodey would always behave much better with you. He's still to this day, he's a mama's boy. He's a very special relationship with you. But he behaves
equally, I feel like, with both of us. But he's drawn to me.
Yeah, he has a very special relationship with you. You guys have been through a lot together. He respects you. He also respects me. But yeah, our relationship is a little bit different. Look at her.
Cat on the table.
Yeah. It's been a little different. Our journeys with Rhodey have been different. Having what we do and having the time to take him on walks, enjoyable things now, work with him now has definitely improved my relationship with him. But I didn't do those things because you were like, you need to go walk him or you need to go do this. It was like, no, like, well, you know, we agreed to both own this dog and they do need a walk today. And like, I have the opportunity to go walk him today. And so we work on those things. Like it hasn't always been rainbows and butterflies with him. Our walks now are very enjoyable.
Most of the time, like even if, and that's where it's like, we don't want to ever make it sound, especially with any of you owners that listen that have like a super, super like dog reactive dog or something like that, is we still like, especially on our van trip, it went so well, but there was still some anxiety when we get to new areas of being like, oh boy, like what if there's so many dogs around? Like, what are we going to do? And we have to remind ourselves to like take a step back and, you know how far we've come, because most often he might have a moment, but he really does prove to us that like we have come so far. Yeah. So I guess, and we can kind of talk about this more of like a open conversation, because this isn't like a us in particular, because it was never like any sort of emotions that I would have. Do I need to touch that screen?
No.
Okay.
I'm good.
Sorry. Any sort of like emotions that I would have about Rhodey, especially back in the day of feeling like, super frustrated about something, I would project at times of like, well, Casey, maybe if you would go out and do XYZ with him more, like that would be beneficial. And it's like, that is a me problem at that point. So if that you find yourself being that, it's not like Casey was going out, taking him with none of his training tools and not following the process. Did he do everything the same way that I did? No, but you don't have to do everything the exact same way. But it wasn't like let me just blow Kait off and I'll take him for a walk, but I'm not going to engage with him. I'm going to literally be on my phone the whole time. Like it was never like that. So I guess from both of our perspectives, what I would say to, the person that is super involved and super like excited about the training journey is really asking, Casey touched on this, for the person in your life, even if that's a sibling or something, whoever you live with, it's really about the other people in the home, to listen to you, to hear how passionate you are about the long-term goals for you and your dog, and then have a joint mutual conversation of what that's going to look like for you guys. And it's probably very similar to like household tasks. Like think about the times that you just assume someone's going to take out the garbage, or assume someone's going to do the dishes. Like you built up this little bit of resentment if you start to see like, well, that person didn't do this, I always do that. And it's like, well, we need to have an open line of communication of, hey, I'm cooking tonight. Like, do you mind taking care of the dishes tonight? Or like vice versa, whatever that is. I find that to be super helpful with owners and their dogs, is talking about, hey, I'm cool being the person that does primarily all of the walks. I'm good with that. But I really will need you to do X, Y, and Z to help me keep those walks successful. So maybe that's when you let, I
don't even know if I would approach it like I really need you to do this, but what I would say, maybe as to somebody who was in the not say non-supportive shoe, but like somebody who wasn't like as gung-ho about it as you were in the beginning, I would maybe say something like, would it be okay with you if you took some responsibility to walk, Fido twice a week or something like that? And then what days would work for you? And like maybe pose it as like questions versus like, I need you to do this. Be like, okay, what works best for you? If you guys can't get on the same page about anything, then I mean,
there's probably some bigger problems than dog.
Well, and honestly, like I was going to say too, like this conversation that should be had. And again, it's not like you need to sit down and get dinner ready and have this conversation, but like
with some dogs you do though.
Be attentive in this conversation about like what that life should look like, or what you want it to look like. Each person, find out the common plays wherever they are, common areas, and work with it. But I would never, I wouldn't approach it as in like, I need you to do this. I would be like, this is what this would be like a common thing that I think that we should do with our dog. I think it would be great. Would you be able to get on board with that?
Yeah, I guess I was coming more from a space of, it sounded like they have already gotten into a conversation and the other person was like, okay, but how can I support in that kind of way? So my thing is more of like, don't unload on them and be like, you need to do this, 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 and that. But if they are open to having a discussion, which I think that's important, is being like, hey, are you open to, or is this a good time for you? Or when would it be a good time for you for us to talk about our goals for our dog? And then you can kind of go from there, and hopefully it's, it shouldn't be too stressful and stuff like that. But truly with some dogs, and that's what I was like kind of adding in there, is you do have to be so intentional. They can't be, we're not talking the dogs where it's like, I let them on the couch last night and you don't want them on the couch because they get fur on the couch. We're talking like, could that affect their overall demeanor and behavior that could cause reactivity, anxiousness, demanding behaviors, all of those kinds of things.
I mean, but the fur thing, if that's a cause for conflict, like, I think it still comes down to like, you guys need to talk about it.
And respect each other.
And respect each other. And I meant to say this earlier, but like I feel like it does come down to the relationship between let's say it's two owners. I feel like a lot of it comes down to the relationship between the two people, because when we, let's say, have any sort of conflict, whatever it is, or if we don't agree on something, like we find that if we maybe get our temper going or something like that, and we talk to each other that way, like that doesn't
you have a temper?
That doesn't solve anything.
No.
We actually find that if we are cool and level-headed and talk about things in a respectful way that respects each other, then that's when we can get more accomplished and respect each other's boundaries as well.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is totally relatable.
Yeah, and I think another thing about that too is like, we don't have kids, but we are kids, and of parents and stuff like that, and we have friends that have kids and a lot of clients that have kids, and I'm sure that any parent that's listening to this is like, oh my gosh, this is the same as raising kids. Is I very vividly remember as a kid, my sister and I were actually talking about this last weekend, that like, even if my parents potentially disagreed on something of like how they would do something with us, I wouldn't have known. They never played each other against each other. It was never a like bad cop, good cop type thing. It was always a mom and dad were on the same team. Damn it, I can't get one of them to like, be on my side for little minuscule things, of course. And it was just because they didn't know that I had talked to one of them. But bigger topics or like any sort of like disciplinary type things, it was very much like the consistency across the board of my parents was there, but they had their different approaches, different personalities and stuff. And that's the same kind of thing with your dogs, is you can be two very different people and have very different approaches for the most part. But if like the goal and the respect and the conversation of being a team is there, that is where we notice owners really succeed. Yeah. So even if it's a matter, I tell some of my owners like, hey, even if you're just there for the other owner, but they're the one handling the remote the most and actually handling the dog, but you are just there for them, even if that's like a walk or whatever it may be, we really see a shift in how the dog does as a whole, because the owners are a team.
Even if the other person, the other owner in the relationship isn't involved at all, and you guys have agreed that that person really isn't involved, let's say it's the other person's dog, but they support the decisions that person makes and spends time with that dog and whatever, and it works great. Awesome. Like that's great too. Just knowing that the other person has your back, they trust your decisions, they have, they have those things going, which is, that's really helpful too. But just have that discussion. Yeah. Because it can be a cause for conflict for sure.
Totally. And I think the biggest thing too, to kind of
don't mind that.
Timer. I think the biggest thing, kind of like the landing the bird here on this topic, is I used to think back when I was just an owner that everything, like everyone has to be super on board in the same way. And I always talk about, like in my K9 graduate handbook and on my social media, is like everyone needs to be on board. I stand firm on that, but that can look different. That can look very different. I tell my owners at pickup, like, hey, you can have very different relationships with your dog. Yes, I will tell you, you guys will struggle if it's every single time one person in the household opens the door, the dog's able to just fly out. Yeah, the next person's probably going to struggle with that until they differentiate it and the dog clarifies, because dogs are really stinking smart. They're going to create this picture of one owner standing in front of the door. I don't rush out. The other one, I do. But that's going to confuse your dog too. So it's little stuff like that that I would hope that you guys can like have a conversation about, of like, hey, this will actually help all of us long term. Like, can we agree on these key things? But pushing, something on the other owner when it's just really not what they want to do is going to be tough. And I had to learn that. Like, I thought, well, why doesn't everyone want to, why doesn't Casey want to go take the long line out and practice recall and practice, all of these things that it's like down stays at a distance, when he's like, I can take my dog on a long line hike and utilize those things, but I don't have to do it in like training mode. Like, that's where I had to take a step back, especially back in the beginning, and be like, okay, we can still have two very fulfilling relationships with our dog with it looking different. Yep. It doesn't look very different now because now it's not like we go out and do training, but I would say we're pretty dang consistent with them. But there's some things that Casey lets them do and some things I don't, and vice versa. Or like, and our dogs are fine with that. Like, it's clear enough that we're not leaving them in a confused state.
Yeah, definitely. All right, landed that bird.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a roundabout. I don't really think I had a question, but like a good concept that is brought up so much. So hopefully that's helpful for you guys, because I know that can be a really tough conversation and tough relationship to kind of be in if you feel like they should do something. So hopefully that was helpful for you guys to kind of hear us talk through and also not see it eye to eye. Like, there's moments that like Casey would handle it one way and I would handle it differently, and that's okay.
Touche.
All right. I know that you had a Kate's take or a question for us.
Yes, I have a Kate's take from Kait.
Hi, Kait.
What's up, Kait? Kait says, I've been loving the podcast. I'm a fellow trainer trying to find my way with my business and with my personal dogs. For a while, I wasn't interested in touching e-collars, but over the last 2 years, my perception has changed, and I'd like to start using them with my dogs. I have 2 questions I'd love your thoughts on. First, what level of training do you want the dog to be at before introducing the e-collar? And I'll just give the second question. Should they have a good foundation with basic commands and leash work first? Oh, so that's like a 2-part question.
Yeah, I got it.
And the second question is, what dog, if any, would you not use an e-collar on?
Oh, Kait, you're going to get me into my, I'll have to preface this by saying, remember, I work with e-collars day in and day out. But first, I'm going to answer your last question. I have not had a dog personally that I'm like, this dog should not be on an e-collar. I do find that some have different adjustment periods, but that's usually a dog that has adjustment periods with any sort of change. So I find e-collars extremely helpful with your happy-go-lucky dogs, your anxious dogs, your reactive dogs, your over-aroused dogs, every dog except for we don't start it until a certain age. So I'm not like doing e-collar work on 2-month-old puppies, but every single dog that comes through our program benefits from proper and good e-collar training. As far as you starting e-collar work, obviously, if you've been following us, you listen here, you probably follow on Instagram and YouTube and stuff like that. But you probably notice like we're working with e-collars on day one. And some people hear that and they're like, what? Like, what? What's going on? And our e-collar work is different than just like layering over known commands. We do so much of our tone function and stuff like that. But if it's like your first time and you're feeling like, a little bit worried about the process, because naturally, again, anything new feels a little, overwhelming, I would start, with your own dogs, and I would at least have it where they can respond to leash guidance from you. Like, you can get them to move in your direction. You can get them to, turn pressure off on the leash as they head your way. But besides that, like, I don't feel like they need to be a dog that knows a bazillion things for you to start working with them on the e-collar. We do have, on our YouTube videos and stuff like that, like getting things properly fitted, finding your dog's perception level, knowing that that's just a gauge. That's just where things are going to start. So that's where I would start, is I would get your dog comfortable with like starting to wear it and have them feel it on. But your dogs don't need to know a ton of stuff for you to then start introducing the e-collar. So I know that's not a like, when, what's the age, how many commands do they need to know? I mean, we have some dogs come in and really know no commands, or they know things and it's like, they hold something for 2 seconds, but really we couldn't kind of consider them a green dog, if you will. And we still are working with the e-collar right away. So start kind of in like the foundational things of checking out our perception level video, our properly fitting, and then even tap into some of our tone work videos, because that's very different than, you layering low level stim over the place command or over your sit or things like that. But just know that like every dog might respond slightly different, and change is change. So if you ever have like, say you're practicing with one of your dogs and it's a little bit of a, oh my gosh, like my dog's face went a little like concerned, if you will, because they're kind of like curious of what that was. Don't stop there. That's where I've had some people that are like, oh, I'm nervous, I'm thinking too much into this, and I want you to think about it, but don't let any sort of uncertainty or adjustment period stop you from moving forward, because every single dog for the most part responds a bit different with the e-collar. So roundabout way, but I hope that kind of helps you. Did I answer all the questions?
I think so.
Okay.
We had a question on one of our past podcasts on YouTube I wanted to just kind of address. The question was, would love to hear y'all talk through your kennel building setup and how that next step came about for K9. So this is nice timing. We're actually releasing our crib video, calling it, it's a take on the MTV Cribs. Is that coming back, or is that old? Or
no,
MTV
it's not coming
Cribs?
back. It's old.
Okay. MTV Crib show from back in the day, kind of giving a detailed setup as to how our kennel room works, what it looks like, what works great for us, why it works great for us. So stay tuned for that. I think we're going to get it out early this week.
Yeah. I don't know, like, if the question was our build out, was that the thing?
How the next step came for K9. So I don't think we really addressed that in there, but
well, all I was going to say is the house that we bought had the building also. So I don't want you to think that we built this building. And I know some trainers do build the outbuilding. So we more planned and adjusted based on what was already here, which we'll show fully in that video. So keep an eye out. Actually, at this point, it might already be
it'll probably be out by now.
Posted. So
yeah, we were just so lucky with this house to have this building on the property that just needed some
TLC.
Yeah, needed some TLC, needed just a little bit of finishing to get it to where we could have it work for us. And yeah,
we always find small adjustments we want to make, and as we go through seasons, that's like certain things changed from our first summer and stuff like that. So yeah, we'll share a little bit more of that on that video, and hopefully that'll be helpful for you. And then if there's any additional questions from there, definitely let us know and we'll cover it on a next podcast.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to keep it rolling. I think that we are about at time. So let's go through our peeves and highlights of the week. And let me guess, you don't have yours?
No, I don't.
Casey, it's the same thing every week. Like literally the same thing every week. Okay, my highlight. I'll start so that you can think about it. My highlight is we went and hung out with the girls that were here for our shadow program this past week, just briefly. And it's always really nice. And like, I already feel this about us, but like having it a non-provoked like question or prompt or anything like that, having people like compliment our relationship and our dynamic together, and like not only obviously in a professional, but also in a personal manner. They were just like saying such nice things of like, your guys' energy is just like so cool together. You can tell you guys support each other so much, and like you just ebb and flow so well together. So like, I don't know, whenever people say that, it's it's always nice to hear, because it's like, I think that and I feel that, not that other people need to, but hey, it never hurts to hear that kind of stuff, because I hope that they see the support that we have for each other, because there's obviously moments too where it's like, you're driving me absolutely nuts. So I'm glad that, no, not me.
No.
I never drive you nuts.
No, I never drive you nuts.
No, and you do. You 100% do. But yeah, so that's always really nice to hear. So that was my highlight. What's your highlight?
My highlight is I always enjoy the Shadow Week of talking about more than just like dog training, but like talking about life, like where they're at and, you know, their journey or their career. So it's nice to talk with different people. I think I've said it before, maybe not on here, but like how the Shadow program is, it's really fun to just meet other people in the industry and like get to know so many people too. Like we'll be like, oh yeah, that person, you know, in Maryland, that person in, you know, whatever state it is, that person in Canada, like, oh yeah, we know, you know, they shadowed us, like we talked to them, we talked about this. So it's nice to like get out and not really get out, but like
we literally didn't leave.
Yeah, we didn't leave our house. Like they came here.
I love getting out.
I love getting out.
That's his highlight of the week. I love getting out.
I love getting out.
Guys, I think sometimes what happens to Casey, this is apparently now my highlight of the week, is like you're giving like this profound response and then you like, oh shit, I forgot what I was saying. Like, let me just keep going. Like, okay, do you have your peeve?
No, I wasn't done.
Oh, brother.
No, it's nice to just be social with other people in the industry sometimes, because Kate and I spend a lot of time with each other, and
thanks,
you know,
Captain Obvious.
Yeah, it's nice to talk to other people sometimes.
Okay, love your highlight. Do you have a peeve?
Yeah. I think that my peeve is actually no, I don't really have one. I was like really trying hard to figure out like what bad one or something bad, but
I always have a peeve. What's wrong with me? Are you just Mr. Optimistic?
Yeah, maybe I look at things in a different light. Why do I have my hand on there like
this? If, like, oh my gosh. No peeves? Nothing.
Well, you say you're a peeve and maybe mine's the same one.
No, that's not how it is.
All right. Yeah, no, I don't. No, I don't. No, I don't have one.
Okay. Apparently.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I do.
Okay.
I'm sad about these big trees that we're losing.
That's your peeve?
Yeah.
Is that a tree
that
fell?
Sucks.
Okay.
Did we talk about that before?
Yes. You talked about the fallen tree.
On Friday, we were out in our kennel room yard and not on our property, but we heard another huge tree fall.
Huge tree.
From, I don't know how close it was away, but it sounded like it wasn't that far away. Mm-hmm. And it is a spooky sound. It's
a scary sound. Yeah.
Like you looked at me like, holy shit.
Yeah. It was wild.
So yeah, I'm just a little sad about the trees.
I feel like I have a lot of peeves from this week, which is
makes more work for me.
What does the peeve?
Having
a lot of peeves?
No, the tree.
Oh.
Tree situation.
I guess mine is, and this is not about anyone in particular. It's more of like
all right, let's hear it.
I feel like it's been a constant is like, do we have too high of standards for things? Or like, here's the thing I'm thinking about. I'm not perfect when it comes to like, I don't respond to every single DM I get or every single comment on a post, but like I respond.
Why not?
Because sometimes I miss some. It's or if it's like a scam bot going into my thing being like, if you hire me to,
I'll give the next person $5,000. The next person
like
who
that
DMs
kind of stuff,
me,
like
promote it on Wisconsin.fam. Sorry.
You want me to get my peeve?
Yeah, go.
Casey's my peeve. I'm just kidding. But like even just stuff like with our kitchen or the amount of things that we have to be chasing people for or laying things out, or I'm just like, what? Do we care too much about, I don't ever like to put people out, and I'm not saying that I'm always great about this by any means, but like if I have to reschedule something, I try to give people ample time. If I didn't respond to an email in couple of days, I'm literally starting my email, not that I have to, but like, thank you so much for your patience, my response, especially if it's a client or, whatever, or I'll follow up with people if, we're waiting on something. And I'm just like, it's just been a reoccurring thing lately.
We just don't feel it back towards us.
It's just like, what?
Other people who we're paying to have stuff completed by.
Or vice versa. It's just like one of those things where it's like, we're all very busy, but like, hello, there's things that need to be taken care of. So my peeve, I guess, is just like
chasing people down.
Yeah. And like
constantly reminding.
Just a reminder. Like, okay. Cause sometimes I think about like, can you imagine if I just like, oh, I forgot. We forgot this, forgot that, forgot this.
Like you said, we try to not run our business like that with communicating with people. So then like when it's done to us,
it's just my peeve for the week. It's just happened a lot recently.
It bothers me.
Yeah. Sure, so that's my peeve of the week because it happened more this week, I felt like, than of recent. So it's just like I was looking at some of the finishing things that we need done in our kitchen. I look at the last time of like the last update we were given of 10 to 12 days. It's quite a bit past that. And if there's an update, I'd like to hear it. And I wish I didn't have to send an email to say, can I get an update? So, there's a young man right here, you guys. This young man's name is Roro. He's been very clingy to mom lately. Yeah, babies.
And to me.
Oh, okay. Someone's feeling left out. All right, guys. Well, we are going to wrap up our Sunday evening because we are recording on a Sunday today. Oh.
No.
We've got some hungry children and Birdie.
That's enough.
Can I help you? She's just whining for no reason. Hey guys, our dogs do things too.
Yeah. We're trying to be professional here and you're whining.
I'm so professional. But okay guys, we are going to get to feeding these kiddos, making ourselves some food, and get on with our Sunday. I'm going to go to bed early tonight. We're going to call this good.
You've been going to bed early the whole week? Almost.
Do you want to shame me for it?
No.
Oh, I forgot to tell you guys, Casey's a bully, but I'll tell you about that on the next podcast.
No, so guys, don't lose sleep over it.
That's going to be your, what did Casey call it? Hanging from a cliff moment. And we hope you guys join us next week for Casually K9 because we're going to be here. We're going to be here.
Yeah, don't get rid of us because we're going to be.
We're here. We're
coming back.
We're here for now. That's just, that is what it is.
We'll be back probably next week.
Yeah, most likely next Tuesday. I mean, if history repeats itself.
You just never know. There may be a time when we're like, we
Who's
just need a
today?
break. Oh, sorry.
Who's the host today? Thank you so much.
Can I have my hand on this mic?
Oh, guys, thank you so much for choosing Casually K9 on this beautiful day.
Beautiful day.
Even if it's raining where you're at.
Happy day.
Have a great day. We will see you next week. Give us a 5-star review. Share with your friends. Head on over to our Instagram if you aren't already there.
Write a letter to us.
Engage with our posts. Engage with everything because we're a small business owner and we would love that support. Hey, and it's free. All righty, guys. Thanks for being here.
Write a letter to us on...
No, don't write letters.
The website.
Write a letter. Yes, please write a letter to us on our website.
Yep.
Just write a letter.
Yeah.
A love letter to Casey.
No, that's weird. Somebody's going to do it now. That's weird.
All right,
Please
guys.
Don't.
We'll
Please
talk
don't.
to you.
Too far.
Please do because it'll make him feel awkward. We will talk to you next week. Bye.
Bye.